Welcome back to Strangeville Studios, gang. My name is Kevin Strange. I'm the motherfucker who talks to you while I draw fucking pictures. Still working on COCKHAMMER Lives, the graphic novel, where we've got a bunch of pages flatted and we're going through and doing the finishes, which is what we're going to do today on this page. This is page 48. And when I'm done with this batch, we'll have 51 motherfucking pages totally finished of this 150 page epic tome, this huge graphic novel, this decade in the making sequel to my 2009 feature film, Cockhammer. And gang, the Strangeville Smokeweed card game is almost here. I've got a notification that the final prototype for the game is in transit and will be here tomorrow or Wednesday. And then we are going to launch this motherfucker. I just have to look that prototype over, make sure everything looks good. If I did my job correctly, then everything will look good. And we're going to launch this motherfucker on Indiegogo maybe this weekend. And I want to smash our previous record. I want to bring in more backers for this game than anything we've ever done. I want to prove all those haters and naysayers that think Strangeville is dead. I want to prove them wrong. I want to make them eat crow. I want to do little faces when they're good. Kevin Strange, nobody cares about that guy anymore. When at one time they were on my nuts, jocking me harder than fucking anybody. Let's prove them wrong, gang. Let's come out strong on this game. I'm going to tell you guys a little story today. We're going to talk about how I first caught the road bug today. By the way, just a little update. It is Monday, September 7th, 2020. And I've got my swim on. I told you guys last week I was going to grab one of them old gym memberships at a gym with a pool. I did so. I've hit it a couple of times since then. First time was rough getting my lungs acclimated to that pool shit, man. It was tough. I was trying to swim too fast. My breathing was all wrong, and I fucking gassed out. Inside 3 laps, I was done for. Couldn't take it anymore, and this time I tried to be a little more conservative with my speed and my breathing, and I took breaks at each side of the pool, and I was able to do 4 laps instead of 3, and I probably could have hit a 5th had I really been wanted to do that, if I had really wanted to do that. But that looks cool. Let's do a different color though. Let's bring it way closer to the yellow. Burn. There we go. Yeah, so that happened. Happy about that. That swimming shit makes me feel so fucking good. People that don't do it don't know. People that don't do cardio don't know that you get pretty much just as high doing cardio as you do doing almost any drug. more controlled, doesn't last as long. You don't go out of fucking control and get all loopy with it. But whatever. Anyway, it is what it is. I'm happy to just say that the swimming is going well. Still walking around the pond, doing that. My ultimate goal is to at some point here in the next sometime within by, I would say, I guess about a year from now. Within about a year from now, I would love to be able to hit a marathon and do a marathon run. If I can get my endurance up and get my weight down enough, I would like to. That's been a lifelong goal of mine, is to do marathons, run marathons, and I'm so fucking out of shape, and I almost always am so fucking out of shape that it's just not even in the cards to do. But I want to get in that shape. I want to get in that running shape and be able to do those things. And that's the goal. That's what the walking around the pond is all about. That's what the fucking pool shit is all about. So we'll see, gang. We'll see. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. We are here today. I'm here today to tell you a little story. Story about how I got started as a road dog. What even inspired me to want to travel around the country and do horror conventions and comic conventions and film festivals and the shit that I do. You know, I don't think I've ever told this story, so I thought it would be cool to come on here and tell it. And it's no secret that I started off a young Kevin Strange, a young ambitious Kevin Strange, long before there was a HackMovies, long before there was a Strangeville. I was a manager at a video store, at a porno shop, even. All right, do that, and do that. Get this off of here. And one of the things that the owner of this porno shop liked to do was he liked to go to porno conventions. There's a porno convention every year in Las Vegas that coincides with the Consumer Electronics Convention, and all the porno people get together and they do their porno thing. They have porno awards and whatever, and they all get together, and it's just like a horror convention, except it's a horror convention wherein the lovely ladies and a few of the gentlemen of the porn industry, they set up booths and they sign autographs and whatnot. And then they have these awards at the end of the weekend where they, best triple anal scene and best butt squirts scenes and those kinds of things. So my boss, who hired me at the video store, that was like his one thing he looked forward to every year was going to the porno convention. And I was so fucking poor back then that had I tried to go to Las Vegas for, I think they would go for like 4 days at a time. You know, I think the whole thing was like a 4-day, 4-day extravaganza at this at the Consumer Electronics show. and it was just so out of my price range. There was just no way I could ever do it. And every year he would try to talk me into it. Don't worry about the money. You're only young once. Like, you'll figure it out. Dude, I could barely get my fucking rent paid. I was so fucking poor back then. Working for this dude for fucking $9 an hour. He paid me better than minimum wage, but it's not like he paid me well enough to be taking fucking vacations and shit. So vacations were out of the fucking question for me. But one year in particular, our video distributor invited us to New Jersey for 2 or 3 days to do a they called it, I don't know what the fuck it was. It was like a meet and greet for video store owners to meet the distributor and see the warehouse and see how all of their business worked from the distribution end. It was kind of like a way to communicate together. And so this is one, and he pressured me to go to that one with him. And finally I agreed, like, okay, that's something that I'll go to. Like, we can do that. I can because it wasn't going to be, because the idea is, like, when you go to Las Vegas for 4 fucking days, you don't just go to the shows and then go back to your hotel room. Like, they want to go out and, like, do the fucking Las Vegas thing, man. And it's that's, talking about spending like $1,000 in spending money, just blowing it on this vacation. Whereas this thing in New Jersey seemed to be far more keyed in, low key. It was just going to be, we weren't going to leave the fucking hotel and shit, except to go to the warehouse and do the warehouse stuff. And the warehouse was bringing in girls that were going to do signings, so it was like a little mini convention kind of a thing. And it was going to be much more affordable for me to be able to do. So I agreed, and this was other than taking trips to Seattle during the summer to spend with my aunt when I was like 14, 15 years old. I had never really done any extensive traveling. I had gone to Branson a couple of times in Missouri, which is about a 3-hour drive. I had basically never done anything that was more than a 2 or 3 hour drive away. Maybe stay in a hotel, but nothing big. No big vacations, no big cross country trips. So this was going to be a car ride. There's 4 of us from the company, and we're gonna jump in a car and we're gonna fucking drive from Illinois, basically from St. Louis to New Jersey. And that's gonna be the trip. And I don't have to drive. It's only gonna cost me, hotel money and shit. So I was down, and I didn't have to drive. I just had to ride in the car, and so I was down. So I went with them, and I could sit here and tell the whole fucking story of what happened, because it was pretty ridiculous. Like, these guys, like, I was a 19-year-old kid. Like I said, having never even been on more than a couple hour road trip with my family and shit, a couple of plane rides to Seattle, nothing big. As far as that goes. And these guys we bumbled our way to New Jersey. We got there. It was an interesting drive. This was before GPS in cars, so we just had these printed out directions, and we just kept fucking them up and not doing them right, not following the directions correctly. But we eventually made it to New Jersey, and we did this convention, and it was everything that was advertised. They had porno girls walking around getting naked in the aisles of the distribution center. We did orders for stuff while we were there, and it was a pretty good time. They gave us threw us a couple of dinners, like buffet dinners, and all the porno girls were there for that too. So it was pretty cool. We brought disposable cameras with us, and for years I held on to these pictures. Some pretty candid, crazy pictures of what these girls were doing on the floor of this warehouse. Just some pretty crazy stuff that I got to be a part of at a relatively young age, at only 19. And it was really the first like cross country car trip I had ever taken. And it kind of opened the doors for that kind of stuff. Like I felt like with that one under my belt, I wasn't scared to do that again, to do other things. And so a couple of years later, maybe 3 years later, I think it was 2003. No, it was 2002. My buddies had gotten me really hot and heavy into ICP, and so I started to follow the Juggalo world online, going to Fago Lovers website and shit like that. And they were about to do, ICP was about to do their third annual gathering of the Juggalos, and it was this, all these underground groups like Twisted, Blaze, Anybody Killa, Isham, Zug Island, all of these groups that were associated with ICP or had done collaborations with ICP were all going to do this little festival. And it was like at the time, I think the ticket for the weekend was, I think it was less than $100 a head. I think it was like $80 a head or something. And it was only the third time they had done it. And I was still, I was in that mindset that I had just done the road just a couple of years earlier and did a pretty extensive, trip across the country to New Jersey. So I was like, well, I started looking up when, like where is this gathering taking place? Because I didn't, my friends were just as poor as me, and we didn't have the money to be going all out, being crazy. Same, all the same stuff applied. Poor, can't do a lot of travel. But I saw that this third annual gathering of the Juggalos was going to take place in Peoria, Illinois, which was only a 3-hour drive from St. Louis. And so I got a hold of my friends, and again, these are the big, like, these guys are crazy. These guys have all the tattoos and a million T-shirts. They've already seen ICP that by this point, 20 times probably, and so they were way bigger into it than I was. And I was like, hey, why don't we go to this gathering? It's right here in Illinois. It's in Peoria. Oh, we don't have the money. We could never afford that. And I was like, well, listen, I've done this kind of shit before. Like, if we all stay in the same hotel room and we just, like, some of us sleep on the floor, we can grab a hotel room and it's going to be dirt cheap. Like, we'll each pay like 20 or 30 bucks for the hotel room for the whole weekend if we split, the same, if we all split one hotel room. And I promise we can pull this off. Like the tickets are 80 bucks, and then we're looking at maybe, and then looking at gas. I was like, we're looking at maybe $300 in like expenses a piece. And that's if we buy merch and then feed ourselves. And I was like, I think like we got 300 bucks for the weekend. And they were like, you know what? We fucking do. We have 300 bucks. Let's fucking do this. Cause it was everybody was going to be there. And ICP, Twisted, and Blaze were going to perform as Dark Lotus, which was at that time, Dark Lotus had only just maybe within the year had released their first record, Tales from the Lotus Pod. So I don't know that Dark Lotus had performed together more than maybe one tour before that. And so it was seeing Dark Lotus live was relatively rare and recent. They just hadn't been around very long. And so this was all really appealing to me because the schedule said Dark Lotus was going to perform on the first night, Twisted was, or headline, Dark Lotus was going to headline the first night, Twisted was going to headline the second night, and ICP was going to headline the third night. and it was like $80 for the ticket, and then all these other acts were going to play, and it was all held at the Peoria convention center, and there were all these crazy things that you could do while you were there that were all like part of the ticket price. You could play dodgeball, you could do karaoke, you could play role-playing games, you could do like there was going to be JCW wrestling that you could watch for free, and ICP were going to perform, like they were going to wrestle on that show, so we could watch ICP wrestle, all these concerts, all this stuff, man. It was like $80 for the ticket. It was just such a good value. If you were into that scene, it was such a good value, and they were going to be so close. They were going to be so close, 3 hours away in Peoria. It was like can't fucking pass it up. And I've actually done another video, and I can't for the life of me remember what the title of that video was, but it was recent. Within the last 3 months, I've done a video detailing the third annual gathering of the Juggalos and all the insane shit that happened at the third annual. Like how fucking crazy that show got, the police, the riot gear, the trashing of the venue, the third annual gathering being the last gathering they've ever been able to hold indoors at a convention center. They've had to do every single gathering after that outdoors at campsites, basically. And it's now a tradition that's gone on for 20 years. The gathering has been going on for 20 fucking years, and we got in on it on the third one. And it was such a great fucking time, and it was so much fun to do with my friends. Like we bonded so much on that trip. It was a magical experience. It was so much fun. It was so crazy. It was so fucking out of control. And it was so out of control, and it was so crazy, and it was so much fun that we decided if we can do Peoria 3 hours away, what is stopping us from doing every year? ICP holds these special Detroit shows on Halloween called Hallowicked, where they do a Halloween themed concert on Halloween night. And I said, well, we had such a good time, and it was cheap, and we didn't kill ourselves. I mean, we were all poor, so it hurt. It hurt financially. Like I'm not gonna lie, we got our asses kicked. I may have had to beg money to pay the power bill from my family that month, that next month. I may have put myself in some pretty heinous short-term debt by doing it, but it didn't destroy me, and it was so magical, and it felt so good. God damn it, I keep doing this. It was so much fun that I said, well, hey guys, why is that happening? I said, hey guys, why don't we do Hallowicked this year and drive all the way to Detroit and get a hotel room and do and experience that flavor at Hallowicked? And they said, yeah, we're down. And so the same year we did Peoria, we also went to Detroit. So that was like July. We did the gathering and had a just fucking crazy experience. And then we decided that we were going to drive up to Detroit and experience Hallowicked. And so we did just that. We bought tickets, and the time came. I think my buddies rented a car, and we all split the car rental cost. And then we got a hotel room, and we all split the room cost, and we all got our tickets for Hallowicked, and we went to it. And so we were so marked out for ICP at the time, and we're 22, maybe 21, 22 years old at the time. Young fuckers. we actually decided like we were going to do the ICP tour of Detroit while we were there. So we got there real early during the day. The concert was going to be, say, 7 o'clock that night. So we got there real early during the day and decided we were going to take the tour, man. We were going to go do all the ICP spots. We're going to go across the Rouge River Bridge in Delray on Jefferson and tell that guy, fuck you, flip him off, like they talk about in their songs. Cheesy stuff, just cheesy, dumb stuff. We went, got pictures. We took pictures in front of the Faygo factory. We went to, we went to one of the funniest things I can remember is going to a little dive diner in Delray in Southwest Detroit. And we went into the diner and ate lunch, and we thought that everybody like knew who ICP was. Like ICP was like world famous in Detroit. Like they were like Detroit's Elvis. And so going in there, we were like, hey, yeah, we're here to see ICP. They're like these old ass fucking owners of this little dive diner in Delray are like, who? You know, Insane Clown Posse. No, I have no idea who that is. And it was we couldn't fathom that there were people in Delray that didn't know ICP, because ICP shouted out Delray and Southwest Detroit so often in their songs. It blew our minds that somebody in Delray didn't know who they were. It was funny, just dumb, naive kid shit. And we ended up tooling around all over Southwest Detroit and Detroit City, and just doing the touristy thing, doing the ICP tour, and we had a ton of fun during the day. And then we hit Hollowicked that night, and it was fucking as advertised, crazy as fuck. One of the most hype ICP shows I've ever been to. And again, I was so fucking hooked on this travel and shit, on these like long drives, taking a car across the country, and staying in hotels 3, 4, 5 people deep on the cheap. And we did it again the next year. We decided we were going to do the next gathering, which was a lot further away. It was in Ohio. And I can't remember the name of the venue. I want to say Nelson Ledges is the name of the campground, because Hog Rock is the one they ended up doing for like a whole decade in Illinois, in Southern Illinois. So I think it was Nelson Ledges in Ohio. So we did the same. The thing about Nelson Ledges, though, that next year was they only had a few camp spots, and they sold out in like 10 seconds on the website, the gathering website. When the tickets went on sale, the fucking campgrounds were just gone. ICP was actually a lot bigger. Why this is out of focus? ICP was a lot bigger back then for some reason. Like they still had no radio play. This was long before the YouTube viral videos. This was long before what do you call it? Saturday Night Live was doing the spoofs of the Gathering infomercial, because there were no Gathering infomercials at the time. It was just, that shit was just getting started. Long before the viral videos on YouTube, the Miracles video and all that shit. Long before all that. But ICP was really fucking big on the underground. And a lot, I mean, tens of thousands of people would descend on these gatherings. And so that next year, the Nelson Ledges gathering, the campsite sold out, so we ended up having to grab a hotel room this little dive fucking motel, horrible little motel, that was a few miles away. And then Psychopathic, the Gathering, had set up these shuttles where we would drive into this parking lot, and then from the parking lot we would get picked up and shuttled in to the show, to the gathering grounds. And so every day we would go back to this dingy fucking motel, and then shuttle back to the gathering. But a few things stood out about that gathering that were really important to me, and in the stuff that would happen to me later. And one of those things is I picked up two really crucial, important things at that gathering. In that gathering, two things came out. Violent J's book, Behind the Paint, came out, and his record, Wizard of the Hood, which was an EP, a short EP, but it was like a concept record where it was telling the story of Wizard of Oz through the Juggalo filter. And it was, and I walked around that gathering listening to that on a Walkman, a CD Walkman with headphones, walking around that gathering. And whenever I was back at the hotel, I was reading Violent J's book, and he, like being at that gathering, listening to that amazing record in my headphones, and reading his book, where he really goes into detail. He goes into a ton of detail in that book about their hustle, about the hustle of ICP, about the promotion that they did, and how they built their rabid fan base locally through endless promotion. Something clicked in me. Something that weekend changed my life forever. And that's no exaggeration. I literally wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now, drawing Cockhammer Lives, the graphic novel, 15 years later, if it hadn't have been for that book and that CD and that gathering that year, and the experiences that had led up to it, from the porn travels that led me into the first gathering, that led me to Detroit, that led me to this second gathering. Something inside me changed that weekend, and I said to myself, this is what I want to do with my life. And it would still be a few years before I knew what that really meant, before the magic of Strangeville would appear in my life, would reveal itself to me, and that I would become a filmmaker and all these different take all these different avenues. I just knew it's what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to create, and I knew I wanted to take what I created around the world and promote it fiercely and unapologetically. I wanted to get in on the hustle. I wanted to be part of the hustle. If gangster rappers would listen to NWA and early gangster rap albums and think, I want to get in the game and deal drugs. I want this lifestyle. I want to be a drug dealer. I want all this crazy shit that comes with dealing drugs. I was telling myself, I want all the crazy shit that comes with creating art and traveling around and promoting it, selling it. And it took a couple of more years. I think I was maybe the following year, or about a year later, I made my first short film. And then about a year after that, I realized that was where, so about 2003, 2004 would have been my first short film. 2005 was my second short film. And that's when it really hit me. In 2005, it really hit me hard that I needed to make movies, and that I needed to hustle the shit out of them and promote the shit out of them. and travel around the country and preach the gospel of Strangeville in the same way that ICP had traveled around the country preaching the Dark Carnival. My purpose and my place was to tell the stories of Strangeville. And that's just exactly what happened. And here we are 15 years later, and I'm still on the grind, still on the hustle. And I took what I had learned from that travel to those gatherings, to that porn warehouse, to Hollow Wicked. I took all those experiences and I built up my film posse, and we started traveling around to horror conventions, doing the same thing, sleeping 5, 6, 7 deep in hotel rooms, and I would make up 5,000 flyers. I would make up tons of promotional DVD discs that just had nothing but trailers on the DVDs, and we would stand there all weekend long, and we would hand out thousands and thousands and thousands of flyers and promote free promotional DVDs, and we did this all over the country. We did this as far and wide as we could, and that's how you know me today. That's anybody that's following me on this social media bullshit. You wouldn't know my name. You wouldn't know my name if it wasn't for those experiences. I don't know where my life would have gone. I don't know what I would have done, because I honestly was so dissatisfied with life. I was so dissatisfied with my small town options. The only options that I had here in this small town were to work at a bullet factory or work at an oil refinery, and there was very little else. My options were extremely limited, and I didn't like those options. I didn't want that life for myself. And by taking hold of my destiny and forcing myself into this artistic world, I was able to create a life unique. No one else in this area has a life like mine. No one lives like I do around here. I am a big fish in a very small pond. And for a long time I resented that. I felt like I was better than this place. And I felt like I had to get out of it. I had to go somewhere else. And a few years ago I did just that. I finally got the gumption and the balls to move to St. Louis, to move out of this area, to move away from my family and friends. And it was honestly one of the worst experiences that I've ever had. And it humbled the shit out of me. It humbled the fucking shit out of me. And I realized that this is my home. And it's okay that I'm the outcast. It's okay that I'm the weirdo. It's okay that everybody looks at me like I'm fucking retarded for drawing these porno comics and traveling around and selling them at conventions and being a general weirdo that lives completely different, weird Spartan bohemian lifestyle compared to everyone else in this area. And that's okay. Like I've been around other people like me, other bohemians, other artists, other writers, other creative folk, other filmmakers, and I honestly don't get along with them the same way that I get along with my small town friends, because you almost to a person, if you are an indie filmmaker or a comic book artist or a novelist, 9 out of 10 people who choose that career path already come from the leisure class. They already come from a lifestyle that they don't have to work. They don't have to, their parents have money and take care of them, and they don't have to deal with any of the financial struggles and hardships that people that come from the middle class and lower middle class have to deal with. And I have always connected far more with poor people lower middle class poor people than anybody from the leisure class. Those leisure class people are often so stuck up and so out of touch. They spend so much time in their books, in their academia, in their social media, that they don't know what hard life, they don't know what a life of struggle really looks like and feels like. And that was one of the main appeals to me about ICP. And one of the things that was so magical about getting Violent J's book and seeing their promotional tactics was they did it dirt poor. They didn't have the money that they had to do their promotion and stuff was begged, borrowed, and stolen $1,000 at a time, $500 at a time. It was not. They weren't Kid Rock. They weren't Trent Reznor. They weren't these leisure class rich kids that could have done anything they wanted to. And they decided to do like counterculture stuff with their leisure time. But in the end, you can't, like, if you don't come from the leisure class, you can't connect to that. Like, you can't connect to my dad gave me $10,000 to record my first record, and there's Pretty Hate Machine from Nine Inch Nails. It's like, that's fine. That album's great. I love that record, but I can't relate to that from a creative standpoint. I don't have access to $10,000 from my fucking parents to make a movie or to promote like 90 again 9 out of 10 of the douchebag writerly folk that I knew, whenever I would get into their story, whenever I would ask them questions about how they, how do you get by, writing novels and stuff, they were all leisure class fucking trust fund kids. They don't have to work. They don't have, and maybe they have little jobs here or there to keep their parents happy. But at the end of the day, like, they could have done anything they wanted to, and they choose to be counterculture, bohemian artist types. But they can always call mom and dad to get the rent paid, and I fucking can't. I have never been able to, and I never will be able to. Like, all of this that I created, I have to do this with no budget. I don't have access to any kind of money. So all these movies, understand, gang, that I have built a 15-year career with multiple feature films, almost 24 novels, and now these big epic graphic novels. I do this with no budget. No money. This stuff is done with blood, sweat, and tears. I have to go to work every day and make every dollar that's going to go into printing this card game, that's going to go into printing this comic book, that went into the budget of those movies, that went into buying the book covers for those novels I wrote. All of that was made day by day. And so I can't relate to leisure class dudes. I just can't. And that's nothing against them. I don't hate them. I don't resent them. But their path and my path are completely different. They're often nihilistic and sardonic and depressed because they have no purpose. They have no passion. And they do this kind of thing. They chose the counterculture art lifestyle out of sheer boredom and had nothing else to do. For me, gang, what this means to me, this is my ticket out of poverty. This is my way. This art, these stories, my ability to tell stories, unique stories different from anybody else, to give you this experience of Strangeville, an experience completely different from anyone else. It's my ticket out of poverty. It's my escape from the bullet factory. It's my escape from the oil refinery. It's it means so much more to me. This career means so much more to me than it does from someone than the bored novel writing of a leisure class trust fund kid. It just does. And that's no disrespect meant towards the leisure class kids. They're fine. They're okay to hang out with. But their path and my path are completely different. And that's why I identified so strongly with Violent J's book and the hustle of Insane Clown Posse was they built everything with nothing, with no budget, where they had to work for every dollar that they put into that business. And it was their ticket out of the ghetto. It was their ticket out of a life of crime or a life of quiet mediocrity, working a middle class job 60 hours a week to just to barely get by. And that magic called to me so strongly, and still calls to me to this day. I mean, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's the story of Strangeville, gang. That's why when I ask you to come in on this card game and blow this thing up and show these ridiculous, jealous former fans and haters that are obsessed with preventing me from getting out of the lower middle class mediocrity, this is this is the story, gang. This is where it all came from. And I don't think I've ever told that story. I don't think I've ever said that. Of all the stuff you've heard me say, all of the interviews I've done, all the live streams I've done, and stories I've told, I don't know that I've ever told anybody the specific story of where that all came from. And once I realized that Strangeville was my passion and purpose, I've never fucking looked back. I've never looked back. This is where we are now. And this is where we have been, and this is where we will be. This is where I'll be, God willing, this is where I'll be in another 10 years. I'll be sitting at this art table, and I'll be creating these the stories of Strangeville for you guys. God willing. Here we are. And it's up to you guys, honestly. It's up to you guys. Are you going to come in on these projects, these graphic novels, and these games that we create together? Are you going to come in on them, and are you going to help me, smash these goals and keep us on the road and keep us telling you these unique stories that no one else is telling you? This is escape from the from all of the ridiculous politics and divisiveness and the horror of real life. It's this life out there ain't easy right now for anybody. Them leisure class dudes are okay. They don't have a lot to worry about. They whine and bitch and complain on the internet about trivial, first world problems, but they're going to be okay. The rest of us, we literally might not be okay. Only a few little things have to happen to where we're standing in a fucking bread line, being told that we aren't going to get bread unless we take a vaccination. Trust fund kids, they don't have jobs anyway. So nobody's going to tell them they have to get a vaccination. They're going to be just fine. Nothing to worry about for those cats. For us, poor folk, man, things might get hairy. Things might get ugly for us real quick. And Strangeville is just it's a break from that. It's the ability to blow up. The stories of Strangeville give you a minute to just laugh it off. Just laugh at the absurdity of life laugh at how fucking ridiculous this experience can be sometimes. And you know, I can't do it without you. I can't make this stuff without you guys. It takes us both. It's a dance with two partners. I'll sit here all day, gang. I'll fucking kill myself to make this art for you. I'll sacrifice a normal life of leisure and fucking normal vacations and normal weekends and normal a normal social life to bring you these stories, but you gotta come in on them. When we blast these crowdfunders out, you guys are the canary in the coal mine. It's either going to work or it's not. And there are times in my career that it's worked, and there are times in my career where it hasn't worked at all, where we've got our shit kicked in because because of my own dumb attitude, my own divisive, crazy, raging, political raging online, bad attitude on social media, turning people off, turning people away, not providing that escape, but instead being part of the problem. I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of that. I fully recognize that. I fully take responsibility for that. And I'm here today to not be that. And there are a dedicated group of crazies that are going to do everything in their power to shame me out of existence and try to prevent me from fulfilling, my hopes and dreams for Strangeville. And it's really up to you guys to decide whether or not the psychopathic fucking stalkers and haters win, or if we win. If you get more awesome stories of Strangeville, or whether I get silenced and shut down and shamed off the fucking internet forever. It's up to you guys. My success is in your hands. Who do you want to win? Because at the end of the day, we all lose if we don't get to tell the stories of Strangeville. We all lose. You'll never get anything like this from anybody else. It just doesn't fucking happen. Nobody tells stories like this. This is a unique voice in the underground, gang. And I promise you, I'll spend my entire life. I'll be 50, 60 years old, still telling you the stories of Strangeville. If you'll let me, if you'll financially support me and allow me to do my job, I will never. I've got a lot of problems and I've done a lot of things wrong, and I've fucked up in a lot of ways, and I've done you fans dirty by getting into the culture war and taking a side and destroying that suspension of disbelief and Strangeville as an outlet to escape the mainstream. I take responsibility for that. I fucked that up. But if you forgive me, if you give me a chance to atone for fucking that shit up, I'm here. The thing is I never stopped making, of all the mistakes I made, I never stopped making art. I made some of my best art. Some of my best novels were written during the period where I was just insufferable on social media, just a cunt, just fighting everybody, fighting and fucking destroying everything I had built, tearing it all down in the name of the culture war. I never stopped creating these stories. You fucking buy Texas Chainsaw Mantis or Beetle Brain from me, or All the Toxic Waste from My Heart, the short story collection. I wrote all those novels and stories in some of the worst times for me on social media. fighting with everybody, being a fucking cunt and an asshole to everybody, I was still writing what would end up being some of my most classic and powerful literature. So that I can guarantee you. I mean, forever, I'll make this stuff till the day I die. You'll get new stories in Strangeville, and these stories, I promise you, are not political. Those novels I wrote, even though I was raging politics online and on social media like a dumbass, I didn't put any of that into my fiction. The Strangeville is safe, gang. It's safe. It's safe to get in on and offer you a beautiful, perverted, absolutely insane escape from the mainstream, from mainstream politics, from mainstream social order. There's nothing hateful about my work. You're not gonna buy a Kevin Strange novel and see some alt-right propaganda that's promoting racism or anything like that. It's not what the stories of Strangeville are about. It never has been and it never will be. These stories are about making you laugh through some of the most ridiculous characters and dialogue and situations you'll ever see. So anyway, that's kind of the origin story of where my passion for the road and my passion for promotion and all that stuff came from. I know I've said in the past, I've said it came from being inspired by ICP and stuff, but I don't think I've ever really dug in and talked about it to this extent in this much detail, or really went over the specific events that led me here. And what's funny is I actually, once Strangeville hit me, once I started making movies, I've only been back to like 2 gatherings, because there would always be horror conventions that would fall on the same weekend or the weekend before or the weekend after the gathering. And my friends would be like, hey, are you going to come to the gathering this year? And I'd be like, no, man, I got work to do. It's ironic that the experiences that inspired everything you know and love about Strangeville, actually, I can't even go and enjoy them anymore. I can't even go and enjoy those types of experiences because I'm too busy on my passion and purpose. Which is how it should be. Honestly, it's how it should be. Once that shit hits, man, go with it. If you ever get to experience that kind of magic in your life, where your passion and purpose present themselves to you, unapologetically tear after those goals. Take no prisoners. Just go all in as fiercely as you can. Because the world doesn't care. The world isn't going to give it to you. The world isn't going to give it to you for free. The world's going to fight you tooth and nail and tell you, no, we don't need another filmmaker. We don't need another rapper. We don't need another comic book artist. We don't need another novelist. We don't need any of that. You're not welcome here. That's what the world's going to tell you. The world's going to say, nah, no thanks. You're not welcome here. And you have to take it. You have to be aggressive. You have to aggressively go in and take what you want. It's the only way to get it. Life won't hand it to you. That's where the failure comes from. When people say, "Oh, the likelihood of you succeeding as a sports person, this or a musician that, or it all comes down like, yeah, those the art class, like the art career is full of failures. Most people that get involved in it are failures. but they don't fail because they don't have talent, and they don't even fail because they're not good social climbers and social manipulators. You know, I know there's a girl that I've bashed on a lot in the fiction world, who is just the most shameless fucking social climber, and would all but admit it. You know, just it was easy to spot her that she was her friendships were based on what can you do for me, kind of a, and a lot of those writer people are, what can you do for me? How can you advance my career? Like, just soulless, heartless people that don't really care about, you know, friendships, true friendships. They only care about climbing that social ladder and finding that success through social manipulation. Well, the thing about those people is that's not a surefire fucking way to succeed either. That girl that I busted on her for years, a couple of years, for just being such a shameless fucking social climber and so fucking cheesy and dumb about it. She blew herself out. She blew herself out of the fucking scene as fast as she came in because people caught on, and she was using some ridiculous fucking social climbing tactics that were immoral and unethical and just really sleazy kind of stuff. And she's gone. She ain't coming back. And so even that kind of stuff, it's not guaranteed. Like talent, social climbing, those will get you pretty far. But what'll get you further than everything, you don't need talent, and you don't need to do that dumbass social mean girls shit if you are just ruthless in your promotion. You got to get yourself out to the people who are going to consume your art. That's who you need to talk to. You don't need to talk to the fucking, you know, you don't need to become best friends uh, with the fucking uh, the like studios that release indie movies. You don't need to become best friends with the fucking publishers, the indie publishers who put out indie books. You don't need to become best friends with the fucking with the comic book publishers or any of that. You don't need to do any of that. You need to find your fans and promote directly to your fans. And using the internet, ironically, it's easier than ever to find an audience. But people still have this attitude that people still have this fucking attitude that they just ignore that, like somebody else will handle the fans. Somebody else will handle finding the fans of your art. You just need to make a good impression with a publisher or with a record company or whatever. It's really dumb. It's really counterintuitive. But I think this page is done, gang. And I've been yapping at you for an hour, like I usually do. Yeah, put in a little bit more, a few more motion lines and stuff, and then we're gonna get out of here for the day. This is what we're doing. I mean, I'm doing this now. I'll be switching back over to promo mode a little bit when the card game hits, but this is pretty much what we're doing right now. I am hot and heavy on these pages, and I just got to knock them out. 51 in. And we got to get to the magic number is 150. And then we can start smashing on this book. We'll start pushing this book on the crowdfunder. Make sure you like the video, gang. Hit like on that video. Share it. Share it on your... Be shy. Nobody shares anything anymore. Nobody shares this shit. Share this shit on your social media. Tell people to give me a chance. Give me a listen. Can't hurt them. Okay. I should probably do that here. This. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think we're done. Yeah, it's looking good. All right, gang. Stay strange. We'll see you next time. I'm out.